One of the stories that went on with Holly and I, we used to take these road trips with no destinations and just, pack like a lunch bag filled with like pills and just be like, yeah, this is going to be great. Let's just get some whiskey and go. And it was really ridiculous. Most of the things that we got into were terrible and we could have died. But, you're young and you're trying to prove something or prove you existed. The next one that I'm going to read is actually about my fiance at the time. His name was Brian, and I met him in Northampton, Massachusetts, and he bought me coffee, and I figured that was a perfectly good, excuse for me to marry him. And, that's love. So, these are letters about Brian, and they were written in 1997. Most of my memories of Brian are now like photographs in an album, each one capturing a moment that I have made beautiful in my mind. Our relationship was not beautiful. Fragments were. And though we never admitted it, we had more secrets than we should have. I was with Brian on and off for about 2 years. He was the first of many things. My first real love, my first heartbreak, my only engagement, and my first stint as the other woman. Brian and I could never quite leave each other. 2/21/97. Dear Holly, I spoke with Brian today. His girlfriend thought that he and I were still together. I told her, not together, what we had is in the past. I really liked her jacket and leopard print pimp coat. I was wearing hooker boots, so we joked that she was my pimp. He was wearing a studded biker jacket and told me I saved him. I don't know how I did, but he said that he wouldn't be here if it weren't for me. He grabbed my hand and we ran down the street. It was almost like the first time we met. Did I tell you about that? The first time we met, I was sitting in the grass and he started talking to me. I ignored him at first, but he eventually won me over. He told me I was beautiful and bought me a cup of coffee. I kissed him by the car, and when he left, and he called me the next day, I smell like you when he hugged me. I said to him the other night, that's the point, he says. I don't hate you, he says. I hate your friends. Then he runs down the street and stands on the grass. I have so much respect for this girl. He screams into the trees. Then he hugs me close and says, I always love the way you smell, like spices. Cat. The first time I met Brian, I fell in love with him. Maybe it was the fact that no matter how many pretty girls there were, he only looked at me. He was everything I was looking for look-wise. He was punk, spiky hair, bondage pants, black leather jacket. Our relationship was like a film. Whenever I would think of him, black and white stills would come slowly coming to life, making themselves into color. We met in the summer of 1996. I was sitting on the grass next to a bunch of girls. He came up and asked my name, then sat down and turned my face towards him. I had never had anyone touch me like that, or make me look them straight in the eye. It took me by surprise how smart and strong he was. I've always loved a man who could take control of the situation. We talked the whole evening and exchanged numbers over sips of iced coffee. I walked him to his car. He joked about chivalry. We kissed in the parking lot. I was surprised to hear from him the next day. We spoke every day. The phone bill was something else. He lived in Connecticut and I was in Massachusetts, but he visited whenever he could, and we tried to attend the same shows. The last one we attended was the Vomit Pumps, the day after his birthday. All night we shared sips of alcohol, and he introduced me to his friends. He told them I was the girl he loved most, that one day he'd come to my house and take me away, and we'd get married and start a new life. He wanted me to come to New York with him, and I said yes, knowing there was no possible way for me to pull this off. First, I lived with my parents, and there was no way in hell they would ever let me go to another state at the age of 17 with my boyfriend who they had never met. And second, I didn't drive. He would have to come all the way from Connecticut to Massachusetts, and then back through Connecticut to New York. Later that evening, a drunken cat tried to sneak into Brian's car so they could run off to the city. Needless to say, my friends who were with me dragged my sorry ass out of the car, by my feet until I hit the pavement, and they dragged me to our car. I was taken straight to my friend's house where I could sleep off the excitement of the evening. 2/28/97. Dear Holly, I officially met Brian's girlfriend today. By officially, I meant spent more than 5 minutes with her. I half expected to hate her, but upon meeting her, I think she's an absolute doll. We shared screwdrivers and later drank straight from the bottle. She hugged me and said Brian compares everyone to me. Sometimes when we fight, he says, Kat always did this, and Kat was perfect for me. And then he'd tell me how special you are. At first I was jealous, but now I know what he means. You're perfect and beautiful, and I love you too. I don't know why she didn't hate me. He acted like we were the ones together. Now his scent is on me. Now I reminisce about us. Fuck you, Brian. I wish I didn't still love him. I wish I didn't still send him beautiful letters. I wish I didn't push him away like I did. I remember in December taking a trip to see him. We spoke briefly. He held my hand and we walked down the street. It started to snow, and at that moment, he grabbed me around the waist and kissed me so passionately that I thought that I would fall to the ground. It was only at that moment, and then I smiled, pulled away, and ran back to the car. Now he wants to move to Boston. He says New York is no place for us, but I still haven't told him that I plan to leave anyway. He says I'm his only source of light, that without me, everything is gray. My heart is halfway with him and halfway on the sail block. Are Brian and I over? Will we ever be over? The cycle continues.